Hey, basketball coaches and basketball players, my name is Alan from Al's Basketball Training, and today I'm going to be breaking down Marc Gasol's post defense. So if you're a really good post player, take down some notes because Marc Gasol, his low post defense is absolutely fantastic. Let's get down to the clipboard. Let's check out how he plays defense. Okay, so here we have the game where the Raptors and Marc Gasol were able to keep Joel Embiid under 0 points. Yes, that's amazing. They were able to keep him scoreless. So we're going to start in the fourth quarter, and we have Marc Gasol really battling it out with Joel Embiid. And what we're going to have here is Joel Embiid is going to try and basically allow Marc Gasol to front face Joel Embiid. Now, this is sometimes a really good strategy. What you're hoping for here is for the point guard or shooting guard, whoever's out in the perimeter, to pass it over top of the defender so you can have an easy basket. Now, if you've got a player like Lonzo Ball or maybe a Kyle Lowry who can hit that pass really accurately, then you have a chance. But you have two real post players who are really battling it out. I classify Marc Gasol as a real post player. He is an absolute killer when it comes to the low post. So when he's in the low post, he's really battling it out. And now, we have Marc Gasol right here. He is a very wide individual. He is also really keeping his arm on Joel Embiid. He is making sure that he knows where he is. Now, the benefit to this, having a wide base like we have here, and having your arm out on this side. If they were to pass the ball over, he is going to pivot that foot over here. It'll land probably somewhere over here, and he will then still have a contested shot. So that's why we don't have any passes over top of the defender, because all of this takes is one big pivot, arms straight up in the air, and that pass may be intercepted or just not be able to get through and may just become a turnover. So that's why we see this team, the 76ers, not passing it over top. Now, we're going to have, and as we can see there, really quickly, he is still keeping his hands up. We have another defender on this side who is starting to sneak down just in case that ball does go over top. So it would have been an interception, so they were unable to get that pass through. So now coaches, if you're battling up against a really good center, of course you're going to need a big body to be able to battle that out, but make sure players on the weak side, they really come in for help defense in case that pass does go over top. So we're going to continue through. Now, we have Marc Gasol really giving up no space at all. Now, he recognizes that Joel Embiid, his shoulder is going in towards the key. So if he can get his body into that shoulder, he can try and get a foul called on Joel Embiid. Now, that didn't happen. There was no foul called. The refs were allowing a lot of the stuff in the low post to go through or allow it to happen because these are two massive bodies, and that's just generally what happens. So these were actually pretty good referees in this game, and we got a pass into Joel Embiid. Now we have a couple of players on offense who are getting ready to cut. Meanwhile, we have Marc Gasol, nice wide stance, not giving up any ground. If he was narrow, where if he had his feet together, Joel Embiid would be able to go in either direction and be able to attack that player. But with Marc Gasol being wide like he is, that's going to make it extremely difficult. So now he faces up against Marc Gasol. Right away, what we see here is Marc Gasol's feet are still very wide, but we have Marc Gasol's hand up in the air. Not just to be able to block that shot. What this hand up high is doing is to take away the pass to this player here. And because of that, that pass has to go underneath, which takes extra time and allows Van Fleet to now get that ball stripped from Joel Embiid. And that ball almost gets stripped. That pass does get through, but now we've got a help defender coming in, another possible help defender who has ridiculous hops, and Marc Gasol, who has now slowed down this play, if not totally stopped it totally. Now, we now have a double team in the low post. That's one of the great things that the Toronto Raptors do, is if a player gets it into the low post, and if that team is a very good low post team, like the Sixers are with Simmons and Embiid, they tend to double team or triple team in the low post. So this player is smart and he kicks that ball out. And the 76ers are smart. They make that extra pass. But watch Marc Gasol. He's right here. He is not leaving Embiid. Now, when that shot goes up, look at Marc Gasol. Look at what his head is doing. He is watching Embiid to make sure that Embiid is not going to be going for any kind of a rebound. And look at how his body is. I know there's a Toronto 81-point sign in the way, but his body is still wide. He is still ready for, if Joel Embiid was to attack, he would be able to swing that foot out and be able to box out, or swing this foot forward and still be able to box out. What I'm trying to get to here is, if you can stay wide and ready, that means that you're going to be a very successful low post basketball player. So this shot goes up and it gets made, but it made the play extremely difficult the way Marc Gasol was able to play Joel Embiid. So now let's look at this in the slow motion. Okay, so now we have Marc Gasol in the high post. Joel Embiid has the ball, and let's really take a glance at how Marc Gasol is playing him. He's got his hand up so that he can take away any passes that are going towards that side of the court. He is staying extremely wide so that if Embiid was to go in left or right, one of the directions, then he's going to be able to stick with him. Now, of course, Joel Embiid is a bit quicker than Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol is a bit older, but by staying wide, you're going to be able to stay with your player. Now he faces up Marc Gasol. Look at what Marc Gasol is doing right now. He is still staying wide. His both hands are up, taking away any passes that are going to be going over top. Now, even though his hands are up, so are Joel Embiid's. If Joel Embiid lowers his hands and then tries to pass over here, Marc Gasol is just going to be blocking that pass. So you always really want to have your hands in the passing lanes. This is a massive tip for every single low post or even high post, or really any basketball player who wants to play defense has to do. So we're going to fast forward just a bit. Now, Joel Embiid is going to be into what we would call attack mode, but he's going to be most likely, at least at this point, looks like he may be doing either an attack move on that left side or maybe a dribble handoff with the player on the far side of the court. So we have Marc Gasol at this point shuffling over, keeping that hand in the passing lane, keeping one hand on Joel Embiid. Now, some coaches may say that's a foul because you've got your hand on Joel Embiid, but as a low post player, you're generally always wanting to have your hand on their hip so that you understand where the heck they're going to be going. Now, this is going to be a dribble handoff. Marc Gasol at this point, I know we can't hear what's happening in this video clip. I already know what's happening. I've been at a few of their practices. I know exactly what's happening here. He is saying DHO left, so that now that looks like Norman Powell understands what's coming through, and now Norman Powell is able to fight through. Now, as a player myself, I would be calling out if I was Marc Gasol, because I know Norman Powell is unable to defend Joel Embiid. I would be saying fight, fight, fight. That means you better get your butt through that screen because I'm not going to be switching off. Now, his hands, again, are straight up. This is taking away any passes to any low post player over here. This is also taking away any passes to this player who's going to be cutting down the middle of the key. Again, staying big and staying wide. Now, I know this wasn't the low post, but it's still a great representation. This is something that still low post players have to deal with. So now we're going to be looking at some help defense in the low post. So we have a player who's driving right. We have Joel Embiid, who isn't exactly a spectacular or stunning three-point shooter, but he can still hit the three-point shot. So Marc Gasol has to play good defense, which means come down and play help defense. This is a lot easier of a shot to hit than this. So you really want to protect the paint. That's what we have here. He comes in and he cuts it off. Next, he is then recovering, but instead of running and jumping, because a lot of players run and jump to try and block a three-point shot, let's face it, if you're a center, you're probably guarding a center who cannot shoot all that well. He closes out, small steps, and has his hand up. He does not get underneath Joel Embiid. He does not jump at Joel Embiid. He tries not to jump past Joel Embiid. He goes, he has his hand straight up. He contests the shot without jumping. And of course, it's a miss. And because he was able to then turn around and follow his shot. Now, if Joel Embiid knew anything about the basics of shooting a three-point shot, he would know that he should be probably following his shot and not running back on defense, because he is definitely not Steph Curry. So, in this case, we get the rebound. I'm a Raptors fan, but Marc Gasol gets that rebound. He also gets taken down, but again, he gets that rebound, he gets the contested shot, and of course, it's our ball, Raptors ball. So now this is a great set of team defense. Even though Marc Gasol had a little bit of a hand in the action, this is a pin down screen. A pin down screen is when we have a screen down for a low post player or a player in the post. And they set a pin down screen on Marc Gasol. He has issues getting through this screen. He is a bit older, not as agile, and that's a really good screen. So now Embiid gets that ball. Marc Gasol is still chasing his player. He is not giving up. Now, the part of good team defense is, even though we have a player who is attacking the middle of the paint, you still have to play help defense. Now, we have a player who's playing help defense. OG Anunoby is an extremely strong player, and he's able to take that charge. Now, this is something that a lot of players don't do, and that is taking charges. Because I can tell you right now, if a center is attacking the rim, the one thing you really want to do as a player is to take a charge, because centers are usually larger and they cannot stop all that fast. So here we have Embiid trying to do a spin move on OG Anunoby. Meanwhile, Marc Gasol was able to fight through, get inside position on Simmons, but also cut off any kind of a spin move that Joel Embiid might be trying to take. And because of that, that contests the shot even if it wasn't a charge, but it was a charge, so it ended up being the Raptors' ball anyways. Now let's watch the slow motion version of what just happened. Gasol fought through, took away the spin move, but it didn't matter because there was a charge called. Now this next and final move that I'm going to show you that Marc Gasol did on defense is something that I do a ton, even today when I play basketball. And that is, if a player comes and he tries to drive towards the rim and he has the ball right here, I'm going to strip it. Because I'm not going to wait for you to go for that shot, because I'm going to get a foul, because I can't jump all that high anymore. And Marc Gasol's getting older. He can't jump all that high anymore. If a player has the ball down here, use your eyes and look at that ball and say, damn, I could strip this guy. And that's what you need to do. You need to be quick, you need to get your hand, and you need to go and get that ball. Even though the ball is here, if you hit that ball, it's not a foul. If you hit their arm, it is. But if you can go and strip that ball, which means that if you get your hand on that ball and you stop forward momentum and you strip that ball, that means it's your ball. let's watch how Marc Gasol is able to do this. Now, he does hack at the ball, which is a little bit more of a riskier move because you're giving a big motion. However, if you can be quick and bring your arm in and then down instead of it being a big whack like Marc Gasol does just because it's Marc Gasol, he likes doing that. But this is fantastic. This is something that every player needs to learn how to do. So we have Marc Gasol right here with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is going to attack this way, which is what we're going to see right here. He sees an opening. However, we have Marc Gasol's hand straight up. Now, I do this too. I make big whacks, but we see a huge mistake, and that's Joel Embiid brings the ball right down in front of him. Now we have Marc Gasol who's able to strip that ball. That ball does go out of bounds. It is the Sixers' ball, but that's a heck of a lot better of an option, a baseline inbounds, than an easy layup off the glass. I would take that any day. Now let's watch this in slow motion. We can see how he's able to get that ball. He brings his arm down just a bit, and as soon as that ball goes in front of Joel Embiid, he strips that ball. Now, I hope that these defensive tips help you as a low post basketball player. If it does, hit that like button, subscribe, and I would love to see you in my next video. I'll see you guys there.